Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 39 based on novel. So let's start. An uproar erupted in the fighting arena because of Lindong's words. In fact, even the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander and the rest were stunned as they stared at Lindong. After all, they clearly knew how powerful the Ju Yi duo was. At the very most, they could only match up to them in a one-on-one fight. Therefore, although Lindong's fighting strength was comparable to a Samsara stage expert, wasn't it a little of a stretch for him to fight against the two of them by himself? Regardless, the current Lindong was merely at the advanced profound death stage. Little Flame was also taken back by Lindong's words. However, he merely glanced at Lindong and did not speak up. Although he felt some queries in his heart, his trust in Lindong remained unwavering. Brother Lindong, do you mean you wish to fight against the both of us by yourself? Currently, Ju Yi had a strange expression. He naturally knew that Lindong had an extraordinary fighting strength. In fact, he was able to match up to a Samsara stage expert even though he was merely at the peak advanced profound death stage. In fact, Ju Yi was not even confident that he could defeat Lindong in a one-on-one fight. However, to fight the both of them by himself, isn't Lindong getting a little too arrogant? Lindong nodded. There were hardly any emotions in his voice. Why? Are you not going to make use of this opportunity? Lindong clearly knew that the Ju Yi duo were arrogant and prideful individuals. Even though owing to circumstances, they had little choice but to join the Four Titans Palace, it was inevitable for them to have secret designs. Hence, the only way to truly subjugate them was to beat them until they no longer had the guts to rebel. Moreover, this was also a form of deterrence. In fact, this deterrence would not be limited to Ju Yi's group. At the same time, the growing number of experts in Four Titans Palace would also be affected. Ha ha, since Brother Lindong wants to fulfill our wishes, we have no reason to reject. Ju Yi laughed heartily, while his eyes were filled with rich joy. In his opinion, Lindong was gifting a leadership position to the both of them. When Lindong heard his reply, he merely smiled. However, he gave no other explanation. Ju Li, go and spar with Brother Lindong first. However, Ju Yi and Ju Li did not attack together right away. After all, they still had to rely on Lindong in the future. Therefore, they did not dare to offend him. Instead, Ju Yi turned his head and instructed Ju Li, who was standing beside him. I? Ju Li nodded. After which, he cupped his hands towards Lindong and laughed, Brother Lindong, please pardon me. Bang! Vast and mighty Yuan power swept out from within his body in all directions after his voice sounded. The life chi and death chi in his Yuan power were perfectly merged. They appeared boundless, just like the mighty ocean. A powerful pressure spread and enveloped the entire arena, causing the expressions of many powerful individuals from the Four Titans Palace to change. Although the Ju Yi brothers were arrogant, they were also quite powerful. Hence, it's no wonder they were able to dominate the entire Western Sand region. I heard that Brother Lindong can match up to a Samsara stage expert, despite the fact that you are merely at the profound death stage. Today, I shall witness it for myself. Ju Li laughed out loud. Then, he waved his sleeves before Yuan power surged from behind him. Stomping his foot violently on the ground immediately cracked. After which, everyone could only see a ray of light flash past, before Ju Li appeared in front of Lindong in a ghost-like fashion while being accompanied by a wild and violent offensive force. After which, he threw his palm forward. Rumble. The air in front of Ju Li was seemingly completely shattered at this moment. A huge palm, which was filled with life-death chi, materialized in midair before it smashed towards Lindong. Lindong lifted his head. His black pupils were reflecting that palm, whose reflection was being magnified in his pupils. However, his hands were lowered and he did not show any sign of retaliating. Hence, the surrounding onlookers were all puzzled when they saw this. That huge Yuan power palm arrived in the blink of an eye. However, the attack suddenly stopped when it was 100 feet away from Lindong. After which, in front of many stunned pairs of eyes, it blew apart with a loud bang. Zhu Li was also startled by this scene. In that previous instant, he felt that his connection with that huge Yuan power palm was severed, before it self-destructed uncontrollably. Lindong had a nonchalant expression as he surveyed the shocked arena. Following which, his body slowly floated into the sky. Following which, resplendent silver-white light rose from behind him like the rising bright sun. Is that solidified mental energy? This place was not lacking in sharp-eyed individuals. The most prominent examples were the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander trio. Therefore, when they saw that resplendent silver sun behind Lindong's back, and detected the mighty ripples which even struck fear in their hearts, their expressions changed drastically before their eyes turned grave. This, Brother Lindong's mental energy has actually reached the symbol Grandmaster level. Amidst the uproar, the Ghost Condor Demon Commander trio involuntarily exclaimed. Turning their heads, they faced each other and saw a shock that could not be concealed in each other's eyes. The symbol Grandmaster level was an extremely profound level of the mental energy discipline. Upon reaching this level, one's mental energy would begin to showcase its shocking might. In fact, at that time, an ordinary samsara stage expert would be no match for him unless that expert has touched reincarnation. In the past, although they knew that Lindong had profound accomplishments in mental energy cultivation, he had yet to reach the symbol Grandmaster level. However, he actually became this powerful after merely 3 months' time. Both of you should fight together. Otherwise, you guys will only be throwing away this opportunity. Standing in the sky, Lindong looked at the shocked Zhu Yi duo and spoke with a faint smile. Brother Lindong's mental energy is actually this powerful. I was too arrogant. Zhu Yi's expression also became extremely grave at this moment. After all, he knew how terrifying a symbol Grandmaster was. Although the samsara stage was technically on the same level as the symbol Grandmaster level, the symbol Grandmaster level was a little stronger in a real fight. Let's attack together. Zhu Yi turned towards Zhu Li before he said in a low and deep voice. Bang! 2 vast and mighty auras erupted from within their bodies without reservations. Then, majestic Yuan power seemed to permeate across the sky. Soon after, both of them formed hand seals. It turns out that they were actually forming the same exact hand seals. As both their hand seals continuously changed, mighty Yuan power gathered above their heads like floodwaters. After which, they transformed into a 10,000 feet large black and white compass. Meanwhile, there were frightening ripples continuously being stacked on top of that compass. Life-death sky compass. A low cry suddenly erupted from their mouths. After which, that black and white compass immediately began to spin rapidly, causing cracks to appear on the surrounding space. Brother Lindong, this is the strongest defensive technique from us brothers. If you can break it, the both of us will obey your every command in the future. If we dare to disobey you, may we be punished by the heavens. The Zhu Yi duo stood proudly under their compass before their cries spread into the distance. Standing in the sky, Lindong smiled upon hearing this. Without further ado, he slowly shut both his eyes. After which, everyone felt that the entire place had become a little dimmer. Resplendent silver-white mental energy were just like monstrous waves, as they continuously surged out from within Lindong's body. After which, in front of countless pairs of eyes, they transformed into a 10,000 feet giant, who stood behind Lindong. The entirely silver-white giant towered over the land. When that giant casually flipped his palm, a force that could obliterate the world spread. Unknowingly, a hurricane had begun to whistle across the sky. Subsequently, the hurricane began to rotate. Within 10 breaths' time, it transformed into a 10,000 feet large tornado. Meanwhile, that tornado was filled with a terrifying ripping force. Lindong's eyes were still tightly shut as he stood in front of that giant. Then, the giant standing behind him extended his huge palm before he grabbed the tornado in front of many stunned pairs of eyes. Silver-white mental energy surged into the tornado like floodwaters, before 10,000 silver rays of light shot out from within that tornado. Following which, the tornado shook before it transformed into a hurricane sword that was forged from the tornado. Countless onlookers' jaws dropped when they saw this scene. After all, Though it was possible for a samsara stage expert to form a giant sword using yuan power, it was basically impossible for them to directly grab a tornado and transform it into a sword. After stepping into this level, the difference was truly day and night. The Juyi duo's expressions were slightly distorted. It's no wonder the common saying goes that the strength displayed by a mental energy practitioner after he stepped into the symbol Grandmaster level surpasses the strength displayed by a yuan power practitioner after he stepped into a similar cultivation stage. As their expressions became graver, the black and white compass began to rotate at an even more intense pace. Clearly, they were using every bit of yuan power within their bodies. After all, they did not dare to underestimate Lindong anymore. With a hurricane sword in his hand, that giant finally swung it down. That hurricane sword was accompanied by a frightening storm as it swept down. In fact, the wild storm even caused the towering mountain to tremble. Sword of the ancestral symbol. A soft voice sounded within Lindong's heart after that giant swung his hurricane sword. Bang! From the tip of that wild and savage hurricane sword, a strange faintly visible symbol slowly began to spread. Finally, an incomparably bright lightning glow gushed onto the tip of the sword. An ancient symbol seemed to be floating deep within that lightning glow. Wind and lightning ripped through the land at this moment. Bang! As if a thunderbolt had ripped the heavens, the storm descended from the sky in an extremely frightening fashion, appearing just like an ancient wind dragon. Finally, it ruthlessly smashed against the 10,000 feet large black and white compass. An indescribable assault wave promptly erupted before the arena collapsed instantly. In fact, when many powerful individuals were hit by that wave, all of them vomited blood as they hastily retreated. However, even as they were retreating miserably, their eyes continued to stare intently at the source of the assault wave. At that spot, a hurricane sword with a bright lightning glow was clashing violently with a compass. The light grew increasingly resplendent during the face-off. Following which, the eyes of many powerful individuals gradually shrunk. That was because they saw many small cracks appearing on that black and white compass, which was formed by the combined all-out yuan power of the Juyi duo. How is this possible? Mutterings were emitted from the Juyi duo's mouths after they saw the numerous glowing cracks that had appeared above their heads. Meanwhile, their eyes were filled with disbelief. They were actually unable to block a single attack from Lindong, despite having joined forces? Crack. It didn't matter that this was an exceptionally difficult fact to swallow. Reality was cruel. The cracks above their heads grew increasingly dense, before their compass collapsed and exploded. The energy storm swept forth before that hurricane sword, which was still suffused with a lightning glow, crushed the life-death sky compass instantly. After which, the entire place was silent. Then, the sword stopped 100 feet above the Juyi duo's heads. However, its sharp aura caused blood to appear on their bodies. While the entire arena descended into silence, Lindong, who was standing in the sky, slowly opened his eyes. Then, he looked at the somewhat stunned Juyi duo in a nonchalant manner, before his faint voice resounded across the place. You have lost. You lost? When Lindong's voice spread across the sky, the originally quiet arena gradually turned into an uproar. Many people quietly parted their lips as they tried their best to calm the shock in their hearts. No one expected the result to appear so quickly. Initially, they thought that this fight would drag on for a while before the victor was decided. However, reality taught them the meaning of the word decisive. We lost. The stunned expressions on the faces of the Juyi duo lasted for quite a while before they gradually recovered their senses. Exchanging glances with each other, they realized that both their faces were a little pale. However, they eventually nodded before they painfully admitted their defeats. Such overbearing mental energy. When the Heaven Dragon Demon Commanders group saw the final result, a grave expression surfaced in their eyes. Previously, Lindong had used his full strength when he attacked. However, the might of that sword attack caused them, who were merely bystanders, to feel their bodies turn cold. Moreover, they knew that if that attack was directed towards them, it was likely that they would be severely injured even if they could block it. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander trio lifted their heads and looked at the skinny figure in the sky. There was a complicated emotion in their eyes. The first time they met Lindong, the latter had to use various techniques before he could barely deal with them. Yet, in less than a year's time, this young man, who was once an insignificant youth in their eyes, had slowly closed the gap before he finally surpassed them. The rate at which he was improving was truly frightening. The three of them sighed secretly in their hearts, before the final bit of dissatisfaction buried deep within their hearts finally vanished. With Lindong's current strength, they no longer had a reason not to submit to him. Furthermore, with his current strength, they finally accepted Lindong as the true leader of the Four Titans Palace. Moreover, this had nothing to do with the fact that he was the Dragon Tribe's punishment elder. Standing in the sky, the silver giant behind Lindong slowly disappeared. After which, warm sunlight once again scattered across the dim ground, enveloping the messy arena. A cluster of silver-white vapor was emitted from Lindong's mouth. When he felt the surging mental energy in his Niwen palace, a satisfied expression emerged on his face. After advancing to the symbol Grandmaster level, the strength of his mental energy had undergone a drastic transformation. Moreover, he was merely at the initial symbol Grandmaster level. Additionally, unless it was a Samsara stage expert who has touched reincarnation, like First Elder Shu Li of the Celestial Demon Martin tribe, he did not fear any other Samsara stage expert. The bitter decade-long training in purgatory was ultimately not in vain. Thank you for allowing me to win. Lindong suppressed the thoughts in his heart before he landed on the ground. When he looked at the somewhat depressed Ju Yi and Ju Li, a warm smile appeared on his face. This was startlingly different from the icy-cold expression from before. Previously, the Ju Yi duo was far too arrogant. Hence, in order to get them to submit, Lindong had no choice but to display an even harsher stance. Otherwise, the Ju Yi duo might secretly despise him if he chose to be soft with them right from the start. When they heard his words, the Ju Yi duo immediately replied courteously. Their haughtiness from before had completely vanished. After all, they took pride in their own strength, and from the way they saw it, even though the Four Titans Palace was quite formidable, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander and the rest were only considered as their equals. Therefore, they refused to submit to them. However, they didn't expect that the Four Titans Palace actually had such a fearsome person, Lindong. Since the both of you are interested in joining my Four Titans Palace, the both of you shall become elders. Your subordinates will also become part of Four Titans Palace. However, you must obey our rules once you join, and we will show no mercy to anyone who disobeys them. Lindong said. Yes. The Ju Yi brothers nodded. They also understood that they did not possess the ability to discipline their subordinates. Otherwise, their subordinates would not be this scattered mob. Moreover, the Four Titans Palace would naturally not allow their subordinates to stir trouble. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commanders group secretly sighed in relief when they saw that the Ju Yi duo had finally submitted. Secretly, they were rather impressed with Lindong's actions. After all, if they were in his shoes, it was likely that they would have found it difficult to get those two arrogant individuals to submit. Increase the training intensity over the following days. A major event will occur soon in the Demon region, and our Four Titans Palace must not miss out on it. Lindong turned his head and looked at the Heaven Dragon Demon Commanders group before he said. The Devouring Divine Palace would appear in less than a month's time, and it would definitely cause a huge commotion in the Demon region. Hence, they had to make some preparations. Furthermore, although most individuals did not know what was inside the Devouring Divine Palace, it was impossible to keep the information under wraps for long. Hence, once the information was revealed, there was no telling just how many powerful individuals would swarm over. At that time, it was likely not going to be an easy task to successfully obtain the inheritance of the Devouring Master. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commanders group felt a little doubtful when they heard Lindong's words. However, they merely nodded after they saw that Lindong did not intend to elaborate. Heaven Dragon, you will be responsible for handling Elder Ju Yi and Ju Li, get them familiarized with the Four Titans Palace and arrange their duties. Understood. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander nodded and replied. Lindong did not linger on after issuing his instructions. He turned around and walked towards the main hall. Immediately, Little Martin and Little Flame followed closely behind, leaving behind many awestruck members of the Four Titans Palace. Brother Lindong is truly becoming increasingly unfathomable. The Golden Ape Demon Commander sighed as he looked at Lindong's figure. How unexpected. It has only been 3 months since we last saw him. Yet, he has already advanced to the symbol Grandmaster level. The Ghost Condor Demon Commander also laughed bitterly. His voice was filled with amazement. All right, let's cut it out. Behind Lindong are the Dragon Tribe and the Celestial Demon Martin Tribe. This is not something that an ordinary person can achieve. The reason why the 9 Phoenix Tribe did not attack our 4 Titans Palace after we offended Mang Mountain is all because of Lindong's background. Therefore, the 4 Titans Palace can do without us, but it cannot do without Brother Lindong. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander glanced at the other 2, before he said in a faint voice, given Brother Lindong's talent, who can say for certain that he will not advance into the reincarnation stage in the future? At that time, who in the demon region will not know the name, 4 Titans Palace? Moreover, we will also be able to rely on this to grow our reputation in the entire demon region. Our reputation then will definitely exceed that of being an overlord of a small territory like before. Therefore, I think it's best to quickly extinguish any rebellious thoughts in your minds. The both of you should be well aware of Brother Lindong's modus operandi. The Golden Ape Demon Commander and the Ghost Condor Demon Commander were both startled. After which, they nodded quietly. Big Brother, has your mental energy advanced to the symbol Grandmaster level? In the main hall, Little Flame asked joyously. That's right. Lindong smiled and nodded. He looked at Little Flame's metal tower-like body. When the 3 of them stood together, he and Little Martin combined were not even half of Little Flame's size. Did the 4 Titans Palace run into any problems over this period of time? Lindong narrowed his eyes. Little Flame was managing the 4 Titans Palace by himself after he left. However, since the latter had yet to reach the Samsara stage, Lindong did not know if the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander trio would willingly obey him. Nope. Big Brother, you can be rest assured. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander trio might be powerful, but they are also wise individuals. Therefore, they didn't do any shady things behind my back. Little Flame nodded and replied. Good. Lindong felt assured after hearing this. The 4 Titans Palace was something they were going to use when they charged back to the Eastern Xian region. Therefore, if the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander trio tried to cause trouble, he could only strike them down. Additionally, someone from the Devil Tiger tribe came looking for me not long ago. Little Flame rubbed his head and said. Oh. Lindong was slightly startled. The Devil Tiger tribe was one of the 8 king tribes and they were quite powerful. Could it be that the reason why they came looking for Little Flame was because the latter possessed the bloodline of the Devil Tiger tribe? The one who came to look for me was an elder of the Devil Tiger tribe. He said that I am extremely talented and can contest for the position of tribe leader of the Devil Tiger tribe. Little Flame replied. Asking you to contest for the position of tribe leader? Lindong was bewildered. Although Little Flame possessed the bloodline of the Devil Tiger tribe, he had nothing to do with the tribe. Yet, they actually asked a foreign person like him to contest for the position of tribe leader. The Tiger tribes do not pay much attention to relationships. As long as one has a similar bloodline, one is qualified to contest for the position of tribe leader. Of course, the precondition is that one must possess formidable might. That is because the fight within the Tiger tribes will typically end with one victor. Moreover, the rest of them will typically be killed by their competitors. Standing beside them, Little Martin glanced lazily at Little Flame and said, "It seems like that Devil Tiger tribe elder most likely came with bad intentions. Although Little Flame is quite powerful, he will most likely end up dead if he tried to contest for the position of tribe leader now." Lindong frowned. He did not expect the competition for the position of tribe leader in the Devil Tiger tribe to be this bloody. Let's set aside this matter for now. You can get involved in that mess once you are confident in yourself. There is no need to rush. Lindong shook his head and cautioned. I? Little Flame did not object to Lindong's suggestion. After all, as long as Lindong did not give his approval, he would not agree to it. That's right, Big Brother. You mentioned that something big is going to happen in a month's time. What exactly is it? When Little Flame recalled what Lindong mentioned previously, he involuntarily asked out of curiosity. Seated on a chair, Lindong gently exhaled before he muttered, "The devouring divine palace." Little Flame's body stiffened, before his expression became completely solemn. After returning to the Four Titans Palace, besides that one day where he had to fight in order to intimidate the Ju Yi duo, the rest of Lindong's days were rather quiet and peaceful. Moreover, the Ju Yi duo did not create any more problems after that day, and this allowed the Four Titans Palace to descend into a peaceful state. However, due to Lindong's request, the atmosphere within the entire Four Titans Palace became exceptionally tense. Meanwhile, its defenses were also tightened. Time passed one day after another amidst this tense training environment. Over a dozen days later, Lindong was sitting in a hall located on a mountaintop. As he overlooked the many powerful individuals from Four Titans Palace who were training in the square below, he felt a tinge of satisfaction. However, just as he was about to leave, his expression suddenly changed before he lifted his head. Then, his dark black eyes contained a wild joy as he looked towards the distant northern sky. A crack surfaced between his brows, before the mysterious eye of the ancestral symbol stealthily appeared. Following which, Lindong's vision seemingly penetrated through space before it arrived at the distant northern region. A huge crack had appeared in that area. Meanwhile, a wild and violent energy, that seemed capable of dominating the world, spread from within that crack. The Yuan power in the entire land seemed to have become chaotic at this moment. It is finally about to appear? The eye of the ancestral symbol, that was wedged between Lindong's brows, slowly disappeared. Soon after, he gradually clenched his hand. However, the waves stirred in his heart refused to die down. That was because the day that he had been waiting for has finally arrived. The northernmost part of the demon region. There was an ancient desolate plains. Icy cold blade-like winds crazily swept over this place, slicing the ground and leaving it riddled with scars. This was an extremely remote area of the demon region. Due to the overly harsh conditions, hardly anyone chose to settle down in this area. Hence, since the ancient times, this place was only visited by a few humans. As such, this place also became the gathering ground for various highly intelligent wild demonic beasts, who had yet to attain self-consciousness. Although they were fellow demonic beasts, those in this area leaned closer towards the word beast. They were not very intelligent. Moreover, as few outsiders had stepped foot into this area, it allowed these demonic beasts to keep their powerful bloodlines, which were passed down since the ancient times. Furthermore, even though these bloodlines may be molted, they still possessed frightening strength. In conjunction with their bloodthirsty nature, it caused this remote area to become increasingly deserted. However, as of now, there was a shocking and unusual development occurring in the sky above this area. One could see the empty space contorting, before a black crack, that was tens of thousands of feet in size, appeared. Bang! Indescribable energy ripples swept out from within the crack in all directions. Following which, those ripples spread at a rapid frightening pace, before they finally transformed into numerous light pillars that shot towards the clouds in the sky. Shockingly, one could clearly see those light pillars even from 5 kilometers away. Moreover, the energy ripples permeating within left countless individuals awestruck. As those light pillars shot towards the clouds, the energy ripples within the demon region instantly became a little chaotic. Following which, it quickly drew the attention of various powerful individuals. The Dragon region. Since they were one of the 4 overlord tribes and they were located in the north of the demon region, the Dragon tribe quickly detected the unusual activity that had occurred. Many rushing wind sounds suddenly appeared in the sky above the Dragon tribe. Soon after, numerous people suddenly appeared in the sky. The first person who showed up was the tribe leader of the Dragon tribe, Yuan Qian. Currently, he was looking towards the north with a grave expression. Meanwhile, there was rich shock flowing deep within his eyes. Tribe leader, this fluctuation, an elder of the Dragon tribe asked in shock with a solemn expression. I wonder which top-tier expert was born. Yuan Qian shook his head and said. It doesn't appear like someone was born into this world. From those ripples, I am able to detect signs that the space there has become chaotic. Therefore, it seems as though the space there was shattered. Shattering of space. Another dragon tribe elder was a little bewildered. Yuan Qian narrowed his eyes. A moment later, a glint flashed across his eyes. During the ancient times, when powerful top-tier experts were about to die, the most capable ones will create a realm and die within. I tried to probe those energy ripples within previously. However, my senses were devoured upon making contact with them. Ever since the ancient times, the only one who possessed such frightening strength even after death is likely the Devouring Master. Devouring Master? The surrounding dragon tribe elders released an exclamation after hearing those words. Meanwhile, they were all visibly taken back. Clearly, this top-tier individual from the ancient times was not a foreign name to them. That place is going to become very lively. Taking into account the reputation of the Devouring Master, it is likely that countless top-tier experts would swarm over. At that time, an intense fight would definitely occur. An elder of the dragon tribe said. Even someone with his mental fortitude was attracted to the inheritance of the Devouring Master. Hence, even less needed to be said about others. The Devouring Master is a powerful legendary figure, who is even able to defeat our dragon tribe's six-finger sage dragon emperor ancestor. I can feel a resistance coming from the realm where he died. However, it is not specifically targeting me. Instead, I believe that it is targeting every top-tier expert who has reached the reincarnation stage. Yuan Qian spoke with a faint smile. What do you mean? An elder asked in a stunned fashion. It seems like the Devouring Master does not wish for his inheritance to be obtained by someone who has stepped into the reincarnation stage. This is because those who had advanced into the reincarnation stage typically possess their own training methods and it is nigh impossible for them to change. Henceforth, it would do more harm than good if they obtained his inheritance. Yuan Qian laughed and explained. Not everyone is suitable to obtain his inheritance. The Devouring Master most likely wants to leave his inheritance to the most suitable person. The elders nodded. With such a large commotion, what should our dragon tribe do? We must definitely get involved. However, the devil-suppressing prison is under our dragon tribe and I cannot leave. Therefore, let that fellow Liu Qing lead a group to investigate this matter. Coincidentally, he has just left his seclusion. Although he has yet to step into the reincarnation stage, he has vaguely touched reincarnation. Hence, if he manages to obtain the inheritance of the Devouring Master, it might be possible for him to make a breakthrough. Yuan Qian smiled and said. Liu Qing? That training maniac has actually came out of his seclusion. The elders were startled when they heard those words. To Yang Shan's group, he is an idol that is merely ranked beneath Qing Shi. Oh, that's right, I almost forgot. Our new punishment elder possessed the devouring ancestral symbol. It is likely that he will be the first to detect this incident. Given his character, he will definitely not miss out on this. Yuan Qian laughed. Elder Lindong, huh? This is going to be interesting. Liu Qing had also received some pointers from Lord Qing Shi back then. I wonder how lively it will be if those two fellows, who both practiced the green heaven materialized dragon skill, were to meet. The surrounding elders laughed immediately. It seems like they were very interested to witness such an encounter. Yuan Qian nodded. After which, he cast his attention towards the distant north. When he detected the chaotic ripples in the sky, he sighed softly. It seems like there was going to be quite a huge commotion this time around. One can only wonder who will be fortunate enough to successfully obtain the Devouring Master's inheritance. While Yuan Qian's group was chatting in the sky, a slim and graceful individual wearing black armor was seated on a black throne deep within the devil-suppressing prison under the dragon tribe. Suddenly, she opened her tightly shut eyes. She lifted her head. Her sight seemed to penetrate through the land as she stared at a certain empty spot in the sky. Meanwhile, there was a look of melancholy in her eyes. Clearly, she had also detected a familiar fluctuation. Your dreams, we will help you to finish what you started. This world will definitely not fall into the hands of the Yimo. Finally, she slowly shut her eyes. After which, a serene voice resounded across this quiet devil-suppressing prison. It was obvious that the dragon tribe was not the only faction that detected the ripples emitted from the northernmost part of the demon region. Soon after the dragon tribe detected those ripples, many top experts from the celestial demon Martin tribe, Nine Phoenix tribe and Kuanping tribe also detected them. Subsequently, those tribes erupted into an uproar. Since Yuan Qian was able to deduce the origin of the expert who died in that shattered space, there were naturally some experienced individuals in the other three overlord tribes who could do so. Hence, they quickly deduced that it was related to the devouring master. After they realized what was going on, commotion was undoubtedly stirred. Although there were top-tier experts in these three overlord tribes who have stepped into the reincarnation stage, a top-tier expert from the ancient times was clearly someone that an ordinary reincarnation stage expert could not match up to. Therefore, the items that he left behind would even entice a reincarnation stage expert. Hence, the three overlord tribes quickly made various preparations. Clearly, they did not want to miss out on such a huge opportunity. This shock also gradually spread. After the four overlord tribes, the 8 great king tribes also realized it as well. However, their foundations were indeed a little weaker than the 4 overlord tribes. Hence, they only managed to deduce that there was an ancient top-tier expert who died in that shattered space. However, they did not know his exact identity. Nonetheless, they were still compelled to act. After all, any items left behind by an ultimate reincarnation stage expert possessed a temptation that no one could resist. Hence, they naturally wanted to have a share of this scrumptious meal. Of course, the demon region was extremely vast and there were countless powerful individuals within. Other than the 4 overlord tribes and the 8 great king tribes, there were also many powerful factions, who were not as well known. Though these factions typically hid their hidden strength cannot be underestimated. Typically, it was difficult to find out about their exact strength. However, when a situation like this occurs, those factions, which typically hid their strength, would still make a move owing to the overwhelming temptation. In summary, the entire demon region was about to erupt into an uproar. While the entire demon region gradually erupted into an uproar over at a certain mountain range deep within the demon region. This mountain range was dark black in color. Meanwhile, the black clouds permeating above were filled with dark and sinister ripples. Deep within that mountain range, black fog suddenly gathered on a mountaintop, before a black shadow appeared in a strange fashion. He was completely covered by black fog. Meanwhile, his emotionless eyes were looking towards the north. Ha ha, is that where the devouring master died? That hateful fellow truly refuses to allow one to be at peace even after his death. The black figure looked towards the north, before his hoarse voice slowly sounded. Ghost Abyss King, it seems like various factions have dispatched many powerful individuals to the northernmost area. What should we do? Behind this black figure, the black fog squirmed before a human figure appeared and laughed in a strange fashion. There is no way that we will miss out on such a grand event. In the past, we were only able to kill the devouring master after much difficulties. If someone was allowed to receive his inheritance, there will be another devouring master in this world. That will be bad news for us. The figure in front of that black shadow said in an indifferent manner. Do you mean? Let's head to the northernmost area. Whoever obtains the devouring master's inheritance, his voice paused after he mentioned this point. Soon after, dark and sinister killing intent surged forth like floodwaters. We'll kill him immediately. This video will end here.